Hello from Gardening at Douentza here in Ireland, and this video is about this fantastic Cattleya. It's Blc King of Taiwan and the cultivar is Dashin #1. But the video isn't going to be about how glorious this Cattleya is. Rather, the video is going to be about why I think it has a virus. Okay, so before we get into the video, I'd just like to preamble by saying that I've taken this orchid out to the greenhouse just for the sake of getting better light to film it in. Now it's December, the 13th of December, very, very dark days, and it's been practically impossible to photograph or video orchids successfully in the house. So I thought I'd just bring this outside, and I'll just say as well that my greenhouse isn't an orchid greenhouse. I have some cold orchids in it down the back, but that's not what it's used for. So this is just a device simply to show you this plant in better light. Now this really is a beautiful Cattleya with a strong spicy scent that fills up the kitchen where it lives at the moment. And it's given me 5 beautiful flowers this year. Well, some of them are beautiful at least. And if we go over here, we can see, I think this was the first flower that opened, I'm not sure. But in any case, if you look at it, it really is a beautiful blemishless flower with a deep, deep lip of yellow and purple, and then it fades to a lighter shade of purple. Really, really glorious. And together with the heady, spicy scent, it really is a worthy addition in anyone's collection. And this second flower over here is also pretty good looking. Nothing very remarkable about that. But the trouble started when we moved over to this pair here. And with this flower here, you can see that there are some blemishes, some streaks in the colour here on this petal. And on this one behind as well. There is a little something over on this side and right at the back. And as if that wasn't enough, when I waited for the 5th flower to open, this is what happened. And you can see that it really isn't very good at all. In fact, looking at this, it's kind of a stereotypical picture of what a virus Cattleya will look like. Whether it's down to the premature wilting of the sepals up here, or the very noticeable state of the colour in the flower, which is streaked with white in a very unattractive way. So it seems that my orchid has a virus, and I'm just going to give you a run through history of this plant to date. And I have to tell you that I've had this plant for 6 years. So I bought it in June 6 years ago, and at that point in time it was a recent Thai import and it came to me with bad roots. But the following year it flowered and I was very happy with it. Then the next year I noticed some kind of, well, let's just say fungus in the roots, and I repotted it. And while I repotted it, the pseudobulbs seemed really soft, and I managed to break off 3 of them, which is kind of unheard of because, you know, I've been repotting orchids for a while, and to actually break 3 of them in the one go, it's indicative of being really, really clumsy. Anyway, that year the plant produced 1 flower, but it never opened it. It aborted before it opened. 3 years ago, I had a massive sheaths on this plant in late autumn, and this is a plant that blooms round about Christmas time, so I was really looking forward to a fantastic showing. And I was impatient and moved the orchid from a cooler room into the kitchen, thinking just at the point when the buds were about to open. And what happened? But every single one of them blasted on me. I was absolutely heartbroken. And I made a video about that, which you'll see the link to at the very end of this. So that was all really sad. And I thought the lesson to learn from this is that obviously I've moved this from a room of one temperature to a room of a different temperature, and that's what's caused the bulb blast. So anyway, the next year, which was 2 years ago, I got no flowers. And then last Christmas, I got one very large flower on this, which really was quite magnificent and had no sign of any flecks or discoloration in the petals. And I'll just say that up until this point in time, there had been no trace of discoloration in the petals whatsoever. And that brings us up to today, December 2018, when I had 5 beautiful flowers to open, and they've opened, and now I see evidence of the dreaded orchid virus. So what can we say about this? It's really hard to know, because of course I can't be 100% certain that I do have a virus, but the indications are there. And I'll tell you the reasons why I think I might have a virus in this plant. And the first reason, I suppose, is because this is an older plant. It's one I've had in my collection for 6 years. And it seems that older plants in a collection are much more likely to have viruses than younger plants or newer plants or seedlings. And the reason for that is the more that you have a plant in your collection, the more likely you are to have manipulated it over the years, whether it's repotting or cutting off bits or whatever. So by handling, the risk of introducing a virus increases substantially. And I can tell you that while I don't share water in my collection and haven't done for many years, I did have a virused plant in my collection a few years ago, which I disposed of. So perhaps that was the original source. So that's the first reason why I think this might be a virus. The second reason is that with viruses, very often flowers fade quickly. And I've had premature bud blasting on this plant on at least 2 occasions. The one where it was covered in flowers and they all blasted when I moved them to a different room. Well, perhaps the process was accelerated by the change in temperature, but I now think that this blasting was a symptom of the fact that the plant had a virus. The third reason why I think that this plant might have a virus is that it has had failing pseudobulbs. If we think back to the time when I repotted it and accidentally broke off 3 very soft new pseudobulbs, like newly emerging pseudobulbs. Now, it's easy to break something when you repot, but one thing I did notice before with the plant, the Cattleya I used to have that did have a virus, was that it aborted its new pseudobulbs on a couple of occasions. So it would be growing a new pseudobulb, everything would seem fine, and then bam, the whole thing just failed. So perhaps the soft pseudobulbs on this plant, when I was repotting it way back when, was an indication also of the virus. And of course, the final symptom that we're looking at now is the flecking in some of the flowers. Now, I think flecking on its own is not sure-proof indication that your plant has virus, but it means you need to look at various aspects of the plant's health and the plant's growth and take that into consideration together with the flecking. Now, the other thing that I will mention slightly is discoloration on the leaves. And if we look in here, we can see that, I do have some marks on some of the leaves of this plant, but actually, that can be a result of a variety of things, and I certainly wasn't taking that as the be-all and end-all. Now, another little side note in terms of this poor plant is the fact that I treated it for some kind of mealy just recently by placing it in bleach and giving it the bleach treatment. And unfortunately, several viruses like the orchid fleck virus and the cucumber fleck virus and several potty viruses are transmitted by pests such as mealy and thrips, etc. And I did have mealy on several other plants as well, so I hope that if this is a virus in this King of Taiwan Cattleya orchid, that it hasn't been transmitted to others vis-a-vis the mealies. Okay, anyway, so what do you think I should do with this plant? I'll just kind of wrap up this video by asking you for your opinion. Now, for the last ages, it's been in isolation. I've had it on a north-facing window, so look at the poor thing. It managed to bloom 5 big flowers on a north-facing window, and the reason for that was that I noticed some kind of mealies early on in the summer, and therefore isolated it from the other plants, kept a north-facing window, which is the only place I have to place isolated plants. And still, despite getting that lack of light, not getting the light in the greenhouse in the summer, not getting a south-facing window, it has rewarded me with 5 blooms. So I feel kind of sorry for it in that sense, and also because I've had it so long. I know that when I bought this plant 6 years ago, together with Bob Betts, they were the 2 queens of my orchid collection, and yeah, and therefore I have sentimental attachment. And here we are again, giving the King of Taiwan a good profile, and it really does look good from this side, where we favour this flower that hasn't yet been touched by the virus. If indeed it is a virus. Okay, that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful, and if so, please give it a thumbs up. I hope that none of you are suffering from viruses in your collection, because, well, it's not good news, is it? And I'd just like to know as well from you what you think you would do in my situation. Would you keep this plant in an isolated spot in your house and just see how it pans out, or will you dispose of it straight away? Answers down below, please. And finally, just before I wrap up this video, I want to mention my merch shelf, which should be a pop-up ad that appears under my videos in YouTube in some countries, and it advertises certain merchandise with Gardening at Douentza logo and photographs. So there's a photograph there of my large Cattleya that got divided a few years back, and it's on t-shirts and mugs and cushions and things like that. So perhaps you'd care to treat yourself to a little souvenir of this gardening channel. It would be much appreciated. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, if slightly disturbing, and check back for lots more orchid and plant stuff. Bye!